Welcome to Dr. P.C. Verma, economist, YouTube economics class. In this class, we are discussing the latest topic, that is reciprocal trade agreement of the US economy. What is interesting that reciprocal trade agreement is not new. It has been experimented during the period of 1930s in the USA. In this class, we will discuss the views of Douglas A. Irwin, who has written an article from a Smoot-Hawley to reciprocal trade agreement, changing the course of US trade policy in the 1930s. We can recall from the Civil War up to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930s. 1930, Congress retained exclusive authority over US tariffs, which for the most part consisted of a single-column schedule of non-negotiable, non-discriminatory import duties. Politicians fought over the height of those duties. The Republicans enacted high protective tariffs, such as Smoot-Hawley, when they were in power, and the Democrats enacted more moderate tariff when they were in power, but not over the authority of Congress in setting those duties. Following their electoral sweep in 1932, the Democrats undertook an innovation in trade policy, by passing the Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act, RTAA, of 1934, by this legislation, Congress granted the President the authority to reach tariff reduction agreements. Agreements did not require congressional approval with foreign countries. Republicans opposed this delegation of tariff making. Making the Democrats, following the electoral sweep in 1932, the Democrats undertook an innovation in trade policy, by passing the Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act, RTAA, of 1934. By this legislation, Congress granted the President the authority to reach tariff reduction agreements that did not require congressional approval with foreign countries. Republicans opposed this delegation of tariff-making power to the President, and for several years threatened to repeal the RTAA, Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act. By the late 1940s, however, Republicans generally accepted the status quo of qualified executive authority over tariff, which had fallen from over 50% in the early 1930s to about 13%. Although Republicans succeeded in halting further trade liberalization through the 1950s, the trade agreement program served that is the basis for current US commercial policy. Did the Great Depression bring about this fundamental shift in the conduct of US trade policy? Or was it a natural outcome of an underlying movement towards the delegation of trade policy making powers to the executive that is evident in earlier years, where the trade agreement that resulted from this delegation of authority responsible for the substantial reduction in the average US. We have seen that these views are presented by Douglas A. Irwin, a professor of economics and, and research fellow of National Bureau of Economic Research. This author thanks Dr. Baldwin and Douglas for their helpful comments on the early draft of this paper. From the Civil War, up to the Smoot, the Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930s. Congress retained exclusive authority exclusive authority over US tariff, US tariffs, which for the most part, which for the most part consisted of a single column, a single column schedule of non-negotiable of non negotiable, non-discriminatory, non-discriminatory, discrete, Welcome to Dr. P.C. Verma Economics YouTube Economics class. In this class, we are discussing views of Douglas A. Irwin about reciprocal trade agreement. It is, in fact, reciprocal trade agreement changing the course of United States trade policy in the 1930s. It, in fact, from Smoot-Hawley to reciprocal trade agreements, there is a changing the course of United States trade policy in the 1930s. Douglas A. Irwin has rightly said that from the Civil War to up to Smoot-Hawley Tariff of 1930, Congress retained exclusive authority over US tariff, which for the most part consisted of a single column schedule of non-negotiable, non-discriminatory import duties. Politicians fought over the height of those duties. Republicans enacted high protective tariffs, such as Smoot-Hawley, when they were in power, and the Democrats enacted more moderate tariff when they were in power, but not over the authority of Congress in setting these duties. From the civil war up to up to the Smoot Smoot-Hawley Hawley Tariff of 1930 Congress retained exclusive authority over US tariffs, which for the most part for the most part for the most part consisted of part consisted of a single column single column schedules a schedule of non-negotiable, 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 discriminatory, import duties, import duties, politicians fought over the height, fought over the height of those duties, height of those duties. The Republican enacted high protective tariff, high protective tariff, hot Republican enacted high protective tariff, high enacted Republican enacted duties. The Republican enacted high protective tariffs, such as a smooth, such as Smoot-Hawley when they were in power. When they were in power. And the Democrats and the Democrats enacted more moderate moderate tariff moderate tariffs when they were in power. Moderate tariff when they were in power. When they were in power, but not over the authority, but not over the not over the authority Congress in setting those duties, in setting those duties. Following their electoral sweep, their electoral sweep in 1932, the the Democrats Democrats undertook an in innovation 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 in trade policy. In trade policy, making by trade policy, making by passing by passing the reciprocal trade agreement. Trade Agreement Act. RTAA RTAA of 1934. By this legislation, Congress granted Congress granted the president the president the authority the the authority the authority to reach to authority authority to reach tariff reduction agreement reach tariff reduction agreement. President of the authority to reach tariff reduction agreements. President the authority to reach tariff reduction agreements. Agreements that did not require that did not require congressional approval required congressional did not require congressional approval congressional approval with foreign country with foreign countries. Republicans oppose this delegation. Republican opposed this delegation. This delegation of tariff making of tariff making power tariff making power to the president, to the president, and for several years, and for several years, threatened, yes, years threatened, threatened to repeal, to repeal the RTAA. By the late 1940s, by the late 1940s, however, Republicans Republicans generally accepted the status quo, accepted the status quo of qualified executive authority, executive authority over over tariffs, authority over tariffs, which had fallen, which had fallen from over 50%, 50% in the early 1930s to about 13%. Although although Republicans succeeded in halting further trade liberalization, trade liberalization trade liberalization through the through the 1950s. The trade agreement trade agreement the trade agreements program survived and is the basis and is the basis for current US commercial policy. US commercial policy. So I am Dr. P.C. Verma, economist, professor of economics, HOD, Department of Economics, Patna College, Patna University. I retired from the post of professor of economics in 2016. I started my teaching career in 1973. It is interesting to say that I topped in the list of master's degree in LS College, Muzaffarpur in 1973. And in 1974, I topped in the list of Bihar Public Service Commission for the lecturer in Patna University in the Department of Economics. So from 1973 to 2016, I continuously taught in Ranchi University, Patna University, and other universities also as a guest faculty. But from 2016, I established this YouTube channel Dr. P.C. Verma, economist, where I teach topics which are related to Union Public Service Commission, especially IAS, IFS, allied services, where economics optional is taken by aspirants. And in Bihar Public Service Commission, Bihar State Financial Service, economics optional is taken. My teaching is also for those aspirants from Bihar or Bihar State Financial Service. They can opt economics. And 100% topics are covered in my channel. As this channel started 2016, and this is 2025, every day there is some topics. And latest topics such as this is related to tariff, reciprocal tariff. The students who are facing interview is very, very important. I have seen many students, brilliant students. Out of the 4, 1 will be selected, 3 will be rejected. When you will be asked in the examination that tell about the reciprocal tariff, then you will quote this topic which I have produced before you, that this is not a new thing. RTAA, Reciprocal Tariff Trade Agreement. Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act. Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act of 1934. So Reciprocal Trade Agreement of 2025 is not a new thing. It has already experimented during 1930s, when there was a Great Depression. And in 1932 election, there was electoral sweep by the Democrats. And it is known as protective tariffs such as Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, and following the electoral sweep of 1932, Democrats undertook innovation in trade policy making by passing the Reciprocal Trade Agreement Act, RTAA, in 1934. By this legislation, Congress granted the President the authority to reach tariff reduction agreements that did not require delegation, did not require congressional approval with foreign countries. Republicans opposed this delegation of tariff-making power to the president, and for several years they tended to repeal this RTAA Act. At that time also, in 1934, 1932, there were politicians who opposed this reciprocal tariffs. Today, we are facing the reciprocal tariff in 2025, and several countries are having this talk. You take it as a general way, not to be afraid of reciprocal tariff of 2025. It has already experimented in 1932 and by the Act 1934, Reciprocal Tariff Act. And there was pressure by late 1940s. However, Republicans generally accepted the status quo of executive authority over tariff, which had fallen from 50% in the early 1930s to about only 13% although Republicans succeeded in halting further trade liberalization through the 1950s, the trade agreement program survived and is the basis for current US commercial policy. So, this is today's class. We will extend it further in next classes. Thank you for watching this video. Like it, share it, and tell your friends to discuss on this topic with you. You have this material in your hand, you discuss with your friends. This will make a preparation for final round, that is interview. Thank you for watching the video. I am Dr. P.C. Verma, economist.